Commissioner Bunnyface, this situation has gotten completely out of hand. My constituent streets are overrun by video zombies, this Necro Tower looming over the whole city. What are you doing about this NecroThinker person?
I understand your concern, Senator Lieberson. My men are doing what they can with the zombie menace at the street level. As for the tower and the NecroThinker, I've got my best man on it.
And what if he can't handle it?
Then Eulogii have mercy on us all, sir.
Did you bring it? Give it here.
You think these'll work?
I'm hoping I won't have to. I'm hoping I can appeal to whatever of the RetroThinker might still be left in there.
And if not, will you be able to...
I guess we'll see. NecroThinker! It's time to end this!
Bring it on.
Our universe rests on the uneasy border between two worlds. The world of man, ordinary and stable, and the world of games, imaginative and chaotic. Where these worlds collide, one man is called to stand for reason, maintain the balance, and destroy ignorance. He is the Game OverThinker.
The beginning of this now starting to wind down console generation was the first time in almost a decade that I felt truly, profoundly excited about the future of video games. That rare mix of feelings that the medium was both getting bigger and rediscovering some of the magic that had for a time gone missing, at least from where I stood. Now I'll risk the ever-tiresome accusations of fanboyism by admitting right up front that a lot of these positive vibes probably had something to do with the massive fervor initially surrounding the Wii and the late-blooming mega-popularity of the DS. Call it nostalgia if you like, but something about seeing the old warhorse Nintendo once again standing dominant at the top of the industry, seeing Mario and company return to pop culture ubiquity, and seeing game companies too happy for too long to feed into the stereotype of being a medium for angry introverts screaming into multiplayer headsets, once again targeting the family room, it all felt right. Like the video game culture had finally found a sure footing and could march into the future where the can-do spirit of times past and the technological marvels of the present could join forces and bring about a new golden age. That didn't happen. Instead, gaming in the second decade of the 21st century now looks to me, despite a handful of bright spots, to be in the most precarious circumstance the medium has seen since the crash of 1983. At the start of this generation, I saw the potential for big, new, exciting things to come. Instead, I see creative stagnation, intractability, and widening schisms that only look to get worse, not better. I don't mean for that to sound apocalyptic. Obviously, video games are more popular now than they've ever been, and they aren't going anywhere. What I'm talking about is more a growing sense that this particular generation started off with the promise of something special and really didn't deliver. And that because of this, we've missed the chance at something bigger that we may never get again. I saw promise, but now I mostly see missed opportunity and squandered chances. And we were complicit. All of us. Companies, consumers, first parties, third parties, everyone had a plethora of chances, and one by one, step by step, we blew it. At the beginning, this generation was defined by seemingly massive paradigm shifts in the way we purchased, played, and otherwise interacted with games. From motion controls to downloadable content and everything in between. What could be more promising than the idea of having entirely new ways to play, or more opportunity for games to expand and endure through updated content, or new channels of distribution to expand the number of available products? But in each case, what we've seen seem like little more than a succession of half measures, with the surface of each new innovation barely scratched. Time after time, those making the games have opted to take the easy road, exploiting new toolsets in the cheapest and most incremental way possible, while consumers have consistently balked at the few and far apart scenarios when something new and special was offered to them. It's as though all parties seem to have lost their way and no one notices or even cares. Which is why, despite its high points, I come here not to praise the now-ending 7th generation, nor to bury it, but to mourn for what it might have been. The first and most obvious symbol of what I view as the 7th generation's failure to reach its true potential is the Wii. Yes, the Wii was underpowered. Yes, the Wii was gimmicky. Yes, it ultimately became yet another Nintendo console that boiled down to being a semi-expensive admission ticket to the next round of first-party franchise games. But symbolically, it was the shining star of the generation's early potential. Motion control may not be for everyone, but it represented the first time since the second analog stick that someone had tried to take game control paradigm and completely upend it. And while I think certain innovations it allowed will be with us forever now, chiefly allowing the controller to function as a kind of television-specific point-and-click device and making shake the controller equivalent to a button press, it had the potential to be so much more, to change not only the way we play games, but to create entirely new styles of play that couldn't have existed before. But, for the most part, that didn't come to pass, and there's more than enough blame to go around. Let's not mince words here. While I'm sure the Wii had plenty of fans among individual developers and designers, game companies as corporate entities were openly hostile to the very existence of the Wii. The build-up to its release was marked by endless skepticism and naysaying, and even after it became the hardware success story of Generation 7, these relationships remained chilly. By and large, it can now be said that very few third-party developers found great success with the Wii, but it can also not be ignored that many of them didn't seem to want success with the Wii to begin with. Now, to be fair, Nintendo didn't exactly make that easy. During Generation 6, developers had gotten very used to the convenience of each console having similar specs and interfaces, which made developing multi-platform titles much less of a pain in the ass than previous eras. But this time around, not only was the Wii built around a totally different input system than the other two major consoles, it was built around much more limited internal hardware specs. While a given title's 360 and PS3 version could easily be ports of one another, the Wii version would have to often be a wholly different creature, and while that was the norm once upon a time, today it's seen as a risky extra expense. But then again, difficult to develop for or not, the Wii did have the highest install base by far of all Generation 7 machines. Usual business logic would dictate that to mean it would end up getting most of the focus from developers. But that didn't happen. In fact, the more it sold, the more hurried third-party developers were in their insistence that it didn't need to be a focus for their products. Again, to be fair, much of the time their reasoning made a lot of sense. The Wii's install base may have been huge, they said, but it was largely made up of casual gaming newcomers and longtime Nintendo diehards, neither of which is a big focus for much of the bigger multi-platform AAA games. But on the other hand, when does insisting that this or that console isn't worth your game's time become a self-fulfilling prophecy? It's like when toy companies say, oh, girls only want stuff if it's pink. Do they really? Or do you just only sell it that way and offer them no other choice? Now, I'm going to parse this next part really carefully because it's mostly speculative and I don't want people to bitch about it, but is it unfair to ask whether or not third-party developers wanted the Wii to quote-unquote fail as a home for multi-platform titles? You know, gamers of certain generations, mine in particular, tend to forget this because our memories of the eras in which Nintendo was dominant are generally happy thanks to, well, you know, all that stuff, but most third-party companies would rather not go back to those days. The Nintendo of the NES and SNES era was a pushy, demanding, controlling entity to be in business with, so it's unsurprising that many third parties were much happier with Sony and or Microsoft as the top dogs, companies who didn't have mega-popular first-party presence and thus had to be more deferential to their partners. Let's get real. If you're a third-party developer, you do not want to go back to the days where you practically had to genuflect and offer a sacrifice before Nintendo offered you the privilege of releasing a product on their system. Now, does that mean that there was a concerted effort by third-party developers to ensure that the Wii didn't become a proper home for multi-platform releases so they wouldn't have to be under Satoru Iwata's thumb? Not necessarily, but I wouldn't be surprised if that sentiment played a big part. So yeah, the Wii not becoming quite what it could have and should have become can be blamed on Nintendo for being their old, inscrutable, exclusivity-obsessed selves, and developers for either being lazy, ulterior-motivated, or both in their reticence to give the machine a real chance. But they can't shoulder all the blame. Some of it, maybe most of it, has to go to the market, to the consumers, to the gamers, to us. Do you know what the big difference is between the movie business and the games business? It's not the scale or the distribution or even interactivity. It's that in the movie business, the audience is the most important thing, but in the games business, the audience is the only thing. You are the only thing the corporate masters of this business cares about. Well, okay, not so much you, it's your money that's the only thing they care about, but the point still stands. The movie business will occasionally take a bold creative risk. Not all the time, not even often, but it happens. Marvel Studios gave the director's chair on Thor to a guy who mainly made Shakespeare movies and had never done a big-budget action picture. Terrence Malick gets a whole bunch of money and a big movie star to make Tree of Life. The Wachowskis get full studio support to make a Speed Racer movie exactly the way they wanted to. Sometimes audiences respond to these risks, sometimes they don't, but the point is there's room for it to occur. You know who decides everything that winds up on screen in a Clint Eastwood movie? Clint Eastwood. Only Clint Eastwood, because Clint Eastwood is so respected, so legendary, has so many awards, and is so powerful in the business that he's got final cut, which is movie talk for, fuck you, I'm the boss. In the games business, that doesn't happen. There's no gaming world equivalent to Cannes or the Oscars where you can garner prestige that some potential employers will hold in esteem. We may treat certain developers or designers like important auteurs, but the truth is there is no mainstream game designer who their corporate masters would not hesitate to throw right the hell under the bus if they so much as suggested doing something that might not be guaranteed to finish in the black sales-wise. They'd do it, they'd hire a new guy who was better at taking orders, and then they'd get away with it because no matter how much gamers huffed and puffed in support of the so-called beloved designer, they'd ultimately make an excuse why it was still okay to buy the game anyway. We may not like to admit this, but gaming pretty much goes where gamers take it. We speak through money and they listen. And what they heard loud and clear in Generation 7 was, "More of the same, please," and then we acted surprised when we got it. Now, to be fair, this was less surprising for the other two big consoles. Even their titles, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, were openly sequels, and their basic sales pitch heading into the generation was, hey, you know all that stuff you liked the last few years? Well, buy our next machine and get more of that, but now in HD and with more storage. And there's nothing wrong with that, to be fair. But the Wii came right out of the gate like, hey, we're doing things different this time. We're inventing a totally new method of input. We're reinventing our company image. And while we're definitely going to continue servicing our most loyal fans and aiming to win back some of the quote-unquote hardcore gamers who abandoned us in the GameCube era, we're also going to open up our focus to entirely new audiences. Now, really, this was in large part a desperation move by a company that had, at the time at least, seen better days. And I have not been a fan of every single thing Nintendo has gotten up to in the Wii era, far from it. But I can't take this away from them. Everything about the Wii's development, unveiling, and launch constituted the single biggest, ballsiest, riskiest, flip-the-table-over, change-the-game, courageous move that anyone in console gaming had made since Sony said, you know what, we're not a game company, and everyone else who's not a game company that tried this has failed, but fuck it, we're gonna make a game console, back in 1993. And in response, the gaming community turned up its nose immediately. Motion control was an unholy abomination that would destroy us all. Not even including the option to play like all the other systems was a betrayal. Not going true HD was the worst thing ever. And casual gamers were a plague that would destroy us all if we let them in. And yet when the machine came out, it was an instant, massive success. Lines around the block, people camping out overnight, stores selling out, unprecedented smash hit of a product. Partially because, for all the bitching and moaning, you really can, in fact, still sell a whole console based on this is the only way you're getting the next Mario, Zelda, Kirby, etc. But also, and more substantially, because the big gamble outreach to non-traditional audiences worked like gangbusters. You couldn't swing your arms without hitting a news story about families coming together and old folks coming back to life playing Wii Sports. All that was needed now to make this potentially transformative moment in gaming complete was for the Wii to carve out its own slice of the vital hardcore demographic as well. Through this, it might be possible for gaming to lose some of the rigid audience division that had come to define it in the 5th and 6th generation. Surely Wii Sports had something to offer Call of Duty's audiences, surely Call of Duty had something to offer Wii Sports' audience, and surely both of them had something to offer Mario Galaxy's audience and vice versa. But, as discussed already, that didn't happen. Casual gamers wooed to the Wii by games aimed squarely at them didn't show much interest in getting into the rest of the medium, and gamer culture was decidedly not very welcoming to those that did. Meanwhile, Wii exclusives that did openly court the hardcore demo, like Suda51's masterpiece No More Heroes, were consistently met with poor sales despite hardcore gamers clamoring that the Wii didn't have enough games for them. And Nintendo, well attuned to the way which the wind was blowing, has essentially given up on placating that particular audience, instead doubling down on their old warhorses that proved once again to be the most reliable things they could release. Most of the time. So, in the end, was the Wii, and by extension Generation 7, a failure? Well, I suppose that begs the question, a failure at what? Certainly not a financial failure. Thanks to the Wii's earth-shattering sales, Nintendo is once again swinging the biggest financial dick in the console wars for the first time since the SNES, which means they're heading into Generation 8 flush with cash. and also the kind of quintessentially Nintendo arrogance that says, we're putting a touchscreen on the controller. What? But hey, a win is a win. It also goes without saying that the Wii was the family console this time around, which means it was also the kid console by extension, and thanks to that, yet another generation has the fortune to grow up with Mario and Yoshi and Link and Zelda and Kirby and Samus and Dedede and Pokemon and Donkey Kong and all the rest as friends, and you bet your ass I'll call that a win. But in terms of having a major, transformative, positive effect on gaming overall, no. The Wii, and thus Generation 7, didn't pull that off at all. And I'm sorry to say, I think it was mostly because gamer culture never really let the Wii in. It was easy enough to look at it and go, change? Newness? Reborn Golden Age stuff? Nah, no thanks. Tuck it all into its own little pop cultural ghetto and get right back to business as usual. And that particular ghetto had enough profit that Nintendo really didn't mind living there at all. Problem is, there's no guarantee it's a stable scenario. It's very possible that a big chunk of the Wii's install base won't be interested in the upgrade to the Wii U, since casual gamers and kids generally don't share the reflexive need for increased power that traditional and hardcore gamers have. And even if the console is a powerhouse to match the next Xbox and PlayStation, thus allowing it to run the big multi-platform hardcore games, has the separation of the Wii/Nintendo brand from the rest of mainstream gaming become so complete that it won't make any sense to port them in the first place? This, I fear, is our all too plausible future. Kids, casuals, most of the color spectrum, whatever remains of the old world, and maybe even an entire geographic region of development tucked away into one comfortable yet closed-off corner, while so-called mainstream gaming continues to cycle through endless repeats of the same material for the same audience, growing increasingly more isolated and averse to anything outside its increasingly narrow range of focus. And so-called hardcore gaming will have only itself to blame. After all, we'll remember how we reacted the last time something tried to be a little different.
You cannot hope to defeat me, Overthinker. I wield the power of all that has come before.
Actually, I was counting on that.
Oh, this I've just got to hear.
You're right. You've got me dead to rights when it comes to the old school. So I brought some new school.
Take him down, boys.
Air support, go!
Minions, attack!
Ground troops, engage!
You see, NecroThinker? Maybe modern gaming isn't quite as weak as you think it is.
Ha! You can't possibly believe that.
I do today.
Oh my god, it's still alive!
Do you truly have it in you to destroy me?
Stop this, RetroThinker. It's not too late.
Stop calling me that. The RetroThinker is finished. There is only NecroThinker now.
What have you become?
More than you or RetroThinker ever were. You talk about the old ways. All he could do was mourn them. But as NecroThinker, the stone gives me the power to raise the forgotten, to put things right.
Stone? What stone?
Oh, for fuck's sake, not another one.
I will bring them back. I will make the world right once more.
You can't protect the past by destroying the future.
Just watch me.
It's not too late to stop this, NecroThinker.
You know in your heart this is not true. You know that I am prepared to destroy this world to restore the glorious past. Are you prepared to do the same to protect your failing future?
If I have to.
Are you prepared to destroy me?
If I have to.
Yes or no? Are you prepared to kill me?
Yes!
I aim to smash you out of existence, to drive your cursed face from my memories forever!
Enough talk!
Yes! Let this be our final battle!
Yep, it's time for another bad guy beatdown, and you know what that means? It's mailbag time. But this time, it's a special mailbag, just for ScrewAttack G1s. Don't worry, we'll do another one for all audiences real soon, but this is the Overthinker's way of saying a special thank you to all the ScrewAttack G1 fans who've supported and continued to support this show. So, are you a G1? Do you have a question for the Game Overthinker? Well, just go down to the comment section of this episode you're watching right now and post your questions there. Not a G1? Well, why not become one by going right here? Then, tune into our next exciting episode where the Overthinker will answer your questions while you watch him do final battle with the evil NecroThinker. We can't promise we'll answer every question, but we'll answer as many as we can. A cutoff date for questions will be announced soon, so keep an eye out and don't wait too long to ask yours.